The meadow sun stretched long shadows over Willow Creek Depot. As the afternoon locomotive departed in a haze of vapor and fumes, Emma Matthews stayed seated on the timber bench, her modest fabric sack grip firmly in her hands. The other travelers had scattered, leaving her solitary in the tranquil depot with on-live clicking of the wall clock as her companion. 3 days prior, she had laid her grandmother, her final kin, to rest. 2 days earlier, she had received the notice of eviction. 1 day ago, she had packed what little she could bear and bought a only-way fare to the frontier settlement of Willow Creek, chasing the faint hope of employment from an advert she'd read months before. Now, seated in the deserted depot with October sunlight streaming through high windows, Emma pondered if she'd made a dreadful error. The newspaper was outdated. The job might be taken, and she had precisely $2.17 to her name. She smoothed her plain tan gown, mended at elbows and tattered at the hem. At 3, Emma had devoted most of her youth to tending her sick grandmother. She had feudalance beyond cooking, cleaning, and basic caregiving. The role advertised was for a schoolteacher, a dream she'd long had to chase but never had the chance to fulfill. The depot clerk, a balding man with glasses perched on his nose, glanced at her now and then as he readied to shut for the night. "Miss, we'll be closing soon," he said kindly. "Do you have somewhere to go?" Emma swallowed hard. "Yes, of course," she lied, forcing a smile. "I'm just waiting for someone." The man nodded, though his eyes betrayed doubt. Emma turned to gaze through threadpot windows, where she could see the small frontier town stretching along a single main road. Shops were shuttering for the day. People were heading to cozy suppers and loved ones. She had neither doubt. As the minutes ticked on, Emma's courage began to falter. The depot clerk was preparing to lock up. Outside, the golden afternoon faded into the violet shades of twilight. She would need to leave soon, but where could she go? The town had O'Neill, but even a single night would devour most of her scant savings. With a deep breath, Emma rose, gathered her sack, and stepped onto the platform outside. Autumn breeze carried a chill that pierced her thin coat. She scanned the street, trying to decide which path might offer refuge when the sound of footsteps caught her ear. A tall figure moved through the evening light. A man in a worn leather jacket and a broad-brimmed hat thatched his face. He walked with intent, his spurs softly jangling with each step. A cowboy, Emma realized, like many she glimpsed from the train window on her journey west. The man paused at the platform's edge, his gaze fixed on the depot. He seemed to be waiting for someone who never arrived. As minutes passed, his shoulders sagged slightly in what looked like disappointment. Then he noticed Emma watching him. He turned toward her, and in the glow from the depot window, she could see his face weather-worn and tanned, with dark eyes that held a quiet strength. A scar traced his jawline, and his expression remained calm, unreadable. Emma quickly looked away, ashamed to be caught staring. When she glanced back, the cowboy was nearing her, his step steady and deliberate. Her heart pounded. In the city, she'd have been scared of a stranger approaching at dusk, but something in his manner calmed her. He stepped a respectful distance away and nodded in greeting. "Hello," Emma said, her voice barely a murmur. The cowboy tipped his hat in acknowledgement but remained silent. His eyes posed a question, his voice did not. "I'm waiting for, well, I was hoping," Emma stumbled, unable to keep up the pretense. "The truth is, I came here for a teaching job I saw advertised, but I'm afraid I may be too late." The cowboy's expression shifted slightly, a spark of recognition and high sighs. He reached slowly into his jacket pocket and pulled out a folded newspaper clipping. He handed it to Emma. With shaking fingers, she opened it. It was the same advert she'd seen for a teacher in Willow Creek. At the bottom, someone had written in neat script, "Position unfilled as of October 1875. This is current." Emma asked, hope swelling in her chest. The cowboy nodded once. "Do you know where I might ask about it?" He gestured on the street, then held up 7 fingers. 7 buildings down, Emma guessed. Another nod. She bit her lip, glancing at the darkening sky. "I suppose it's too late today. I should find somewhere to stay for the night." The cowboy's brow creased slightly. He seemed to be weighing something. After a moment, He extended his hand toward her, a simple open palm offering aid. Emma hesitated. She knew nothing of this quiet stranger except that he seemed to want to help. With night falling and nowhere to go, did she have a choice? "My name is Emma Matthews," she said, as if sharing her name might shield her from whatever lay ahead. The cowboy reached into his pocket again and pulled out a small notepad. He wrote swiftly and showed her the page. Nathan Reed, town blacksmith. Below that, he'd written, "My sister runs boarding house. Safe place for you." Relief flooded Emma like a gentle rain. "Thank you, Mr. Reed," she whispered. Nathan offered his hand again. This time, Emma took it. His palm was rough with calluses, but his grip waskened as he helped her down from the platform. They walked side by side down the main road as the first stars emerged in the deepening blue sky. Nathan carried her small sack despite her protests. As they passed the town's buildings, he occasionally pointed out landmarks: the general store, the sheriff's office, the small chapel on the corner, all without uttering a word. "Have you always been silent?" Emma asked after several minutes, then instantly regretted her boldness. "I'm sorry, that was terribly rude of me." Nathan shook his head to show no offense was taken. Had touched his throat and made a gesture suggesting injury. An accident, Emma guessed. He nodded, his expression briefly distant, as if recalling something painful. They stopped before a two-story house with warm light pouring from its windows. A sign reading "Reed Boarding House" hung by the door. Nathan led him up the steps and knocked. The door swung open to reveal a woman with the same dark eyes as Nathan, though her face waskened, framed by chestnut hair tied in a practical bun. "Nathan, you're late for," she began. Venetist Emma. "Oh, hello there, Sir Reed," the woman said with a warm smile. "And you are Emma Matthews. Your brother was kind enough to guide me here. I've just arrived on the afternoon train." Sarah's eyes lit with understanding. "You must be chilled, dear. Come in, come in." The interior of the boarding house was simple but tidy and warm. A fire glowed in the hearth, and the scent of fresh bread filled the air. Nathan set Emma's sack by the door and exchanged a series of hand gestures with his sister. "Nathan says you were here about the teaching position." Sarah translated. "That's wonderful news. The town council has been eager to find me on since Miss Parker left to marry last spring." "Then the position is still open?" Emma asked, hardly daring to hope. "Indeed it is. And as head of the town council, I can tell you will be thrilled to review your qualifications tomorrow." Emma's knees nearly gave way with relief. "I don't know how to thank you both." Sarah waved away her gratitude. "Nathan has always had a gift for finding those in need. Now, let me show you to a room. You must be weary," as Sarah led her toward the stairs. Emma turned back to Nathan, who stood by Theodore. "Thank you, Mr. Reed," she said softly. Nathan tipped his hat once more, a faint smile softening his usually stern features. In his eyes, Emma saw something familiar, the look of someone who understood what it meant to be alone in the world. 6 months later, as spring blossomed across the meadow, Emma stood outside her schoolhouse watching her pupils play. The teaching role had been everything she dreamed of, and Willow Creek had welcomed her as one of their own. From her spot, she could see Nathan at his forge, the steady clanging of his hammer a comforting sound. He still didn't speak, but they had crafted their own language, gestures, notes, and the quiet understanding that comes from the hearts who've known hardship. Twice a week, he walked her home after school. On Sundays, they strolled together to church, and each day, Emma felt less afraid of the future than she had that evening at the depot. She had come to Willow Creek with no kin, now elf, and nowhere to turn. But a silent cowboy had offered his hand without a word, and somehow that had been enough, more than enough, to start anew.